gotta tell somebody.
This is the best thing I've ever seen.
That. Let's talk about that.
You need this. Listen to this.
Memorable and exciting.
Well, then be less boring.
I'm going to tell everyone. Wait here.
Mighty remarkable, Big Daddy.
Remarkable.
Welcome to Remarkable, a podcast for B2B marketers that deconstructs the most iconic moments in film, television, pop culture, and advertising for a single purpose: to give you, the B2B marketer, the same storytelling techniques that the pros use. In each episode, you will learn techniques from Hollywood, Pixar, Marvel, and beyond, from Spielberg's hands to yours, bringing remarkable content ideas to you every single week. I'm Ian Faison, CEO of Caspian Studios. This is Remarkable. This week, we're talking about marketing lessons from the Buena Vista Social Club.
There's this place in Marianao. We're playing there tonight with as much feeling as we want.
What's this place called?
The Buena Vista Social Club.
With the help of our special guest, Blackbird.AI CMO, Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ian. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Excited to chat with you today. Excited to chat about Broadway musicals, which is a topic near and dear to my heart, and to talk about something else, which is reputational harm and AI, and what the cool people at Blackbird.ai are doing to protect all of us. And I'm just pumped about that.
That's great. I'm excited about all of this. So ready to jump in.
So why the heck did you pick Buena Vista Social Club, the Broadway musical, to talk about today?
One, I love music. My dad was a professional trombone player. He had amazing talent. I did not have that talent. I'm really good at listening to music. I like to say it that way. So I've been going to see live music for all my life. Back in 2001, I lived in Austin, Texas. Many members of the original Buena Vista Social Club were touring at that point in time, right after they recorded this album. It's an amazing story. I'm sure we'll get into it. But they came around to Austin. They played it at a really cool venue, and I just fell in love with the music. It's amazing. It's all based out of Cuba, and it's all before a lot of things happen in Cuba. And it's an amazing story that they told and did a documentary about it. So when they came around and I heard the music, I've listened to it all my life. And then when I heard they were going to create a Broadway show around it in New York City, I had set a goal for myself to go see an opening night show, Broadway show. And when that came into town, I'm like, that's the one. So I tried to convince my family to go. Everybody had other things to do, but I'm like, I'm going. So I was like fourth row, went on my own, and the music, the story, how they created it on stage, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. People are out of their seats, dancing in the aisles, and it's sensational. So to me, especially around marketing, it's about creating an amazing experience, and music can help do that. I've had music involved in a lot of the events that I've done over my years in marketing, but this is really special. So this is not just your typical Broadway show. It tells an amazing story, but the music and the musicians that are part of it are just incredible.
I love it. And how great is theater?
It's New York City is I commute into New York City on a regular basis. Every time I walk up into the street, it's electric. It's exciting, right? There's so much going on in the city, and there's obviously challenges going on in New York City, but there's amazing things going on in the city, and the theater is a big part of that. And we go to the theater probably every couple of months. We go pick something really, really special to go see. And whenever you walk into these old theaters with the ceilings and the chandeliers and, the stage, it's incredible, right? So there's nothing like a live performance in my mind. And when you combine live music and live theater together, it's the best of all worlds.
It really is. We have friends that my wife went to performing arts high school. And so she has a lot of friends, now my friends, that are performers. And we went and saw, we went and saw Mrs. Doubtfire because they made a musical of it. and he was in it, and he was the understudy for the lead, which we didn't get to see him play Miss Doubtfire, but it was just awesome. It was a really fun trip. And it's just there's something just so magical about in-person experiences and about the theater and about seeing it there and like knowing that it's awesome. And I'll just say, another thing about theater, that's not the most recent play I saw, because I recently saw Chicago with my niece was in it, because it was a high school performance of Chicago at Oakland High. And gosh, if you want to just feel all the feelings, go watch high school theater and seeing a bunch of I'm literally tearing up just thinking about it, of just seniors, their last show, they've been doing this for 4 years and all that sort of stuff. Oh my gosh, just a built-in, just so much history and just how many people have done Chicago and how many people, anyways, it's so cool. And the thing that's so cool about it is the performance that you saw is the only time that ever happened.
Yeah.
And it's connected to all the other stuff, but it's different. So anyways, I'm a huge theater fan. I love it. I probably only go to one show every year, couple years or whatever, but I absolutely love it. Zooming out for a second, tell us about your role as CMO of Blackbird.AI.
You bet. So coming up on 2 years as being a part of the company, I was brought in by 1011 Ventures, a venture capitalist group that I've worked with in the past. And it's in the cybersecurity world, which I've been in now for over 10 years. I've been in tech for over 30 years and always been a part of the marketing role. I've been in these startups where I bring a playbook where if they have a great technology, if they have a big market opportunity, I can come in with my marketing playbook and I can have as much of an impact as possible to tell that company's story, to build stories, to share the great experiences that we are involved in from a mission perspective to protect these companies from what we call narrative attacks. And narrative attacks are made up of all different types of misinformation and disinformation and all these types of activities, including deep fakes that target executives, that target companies, that can cause financial, reputational, operational, physical harm. So we are very much a mission-focused company that are out there to help national security organizations, to help the Global 2000 protect them from these type of attacks that can start with a single post somewhere and blow up in minutes, hours, or days, where millions of people are believing something that is not really happening or has been influenced or been changed, and it's all designed to do harm to an organization or to a person. And we're there to bring visibility to these people that we work with, to make sure that they're aware of it, understand what's happening, who's behind it, and that way they can respond to it however they want to respond to it and protect themselves. So it's really, really important in this world today with all that's going on a global basis. And that's why I'm very fortunate to represent Blackbird.AI as well as the other brands that I have represented, because it is so important. And that to me is why I'm so passionate about it and love being the CMO, where I just need to go tell this story to the world.
Yeah, it's so cool. I learned about it back in 2021. I interviewed your CEO, and I was just blown away at how, A, crazy this stuff is, and B, just how cool it is that y'all are focusing on it. And one of the examples that I literally had no idea that this was happening is that threat actors are targeting narratives, and that the same hackers that would target a narrative to say, target to try to create malware or get into your systems, that they want to get into the narrative about someone or about something or about a company, and to spread misinformation or false information. And I just didn't even know that people were doing that. I knew that it happened accidentally, but I didn't know that there were threat actors that were acting in that way. And reputation, is everything, right? And what's the famous adage? They see it in the front page, but they don't see the retraction, right? It's
right.
That's how it is now, right? It's oh, I'm not going to buy from them anymore because their product actually has things that, kill baby seals. And it's like, oh no, that was fake. That's not true at all. And, but nobody's ever going to see the follow-up post there because that's not going to go viral.
That's right. It's trust in the system, trust in brands, trust in banking, right? Like that's everything to them, right? And if there's something done that breaks that trust or brings that trust into doubt, that really can impact society. That's why the World Economic Forum named, this type of narrative attack as the number one global threat for 2 years in a row, because it is something that is happening more and more. The cyber criminals, threat actors, the nation states, the influencers who want to cause harm are even now using AI to do it in an even more convincing way, right? And can scale it very, very quickly and combine it with other types of attacks like a cyber attack. And when you do all that together, it makes one issue 1,000 times worse. So if you have visibility as to what's going on, then you're able to react to it and respond to it. And that's what a lot of the customers and the really key people that, are really, really important to the world, are realizing this has been a blind spot for them. There's social listening tools, there's threat intelligence tools, but there's nothing in the middle called narrative intelligence. It's a big gap. It's a new threat vector. And they have to now be using this as another way to protect their organization and protect their executives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just say, working with Wasim is an absolute pleasure. And it's just great that you interviewed him in the past and, how much the company has grown and the impact that we're having. And, it's a great team of people that are there working every day to, create what we have our own AI-based narrative intelligence platform to protect against it.
Yeah, I'll just say it quick because I think it's so fun. That the show that I had him on was a show that we did back in the day called Often Imitated, where we would take something from a customer experience thing from history, and we looked at misinformation and disinformation over the course of the episode that we did with him, and hearing Blackbird's story and how people do that. And one of the examples that we used was that tuna fishermen were trying to make tuna a thing back in the day. And so they had this, so the marketing team invented a slogan that was like, tuna's so good it won't turn pink in the can. And this was to combat salmon fishermen because salmon is pink in the can and inherently sort of saying that that's bad. And they sort of spread this and then, tuna became the chicken of the sea, et cetera, and the rest is history. But that idea that like a narrative takes hold, which is completely unfounded, and people, believed it. And they're like, oh, geez, well, pink in the can, that must be bad. And this is sort of a narrative that is, quite old and dated, especially with ChatGPT now or AI tools where you could just, plop it in there and see if it's true. Or back in the day when we had Snopes to figure that stuff out. But I think it is just such an important piece about marketing, which is like that. There is a higher standard as part of this as well, right? We are about building narratives, and I think it's important to understand that there's people trying to destroy narratives, and sometimes those people are your competitors, and sometimes those people are bad actors.
Yeah, and more, it's interesting. Nation states are pretty much involved in everything. Yeah. So anything to disrupt, society, whether it's related to all the wars, the geopolitical risk, the cyber attacks, the breaches, financial issues, the nation states are getting behind it to try to make it worse, just to disrupt things. And, that's the big challenge that everybody's really struggling with. And if you're a company that's targeted, your brand reputation is everything. And it could be damaged in a way that you can never recover from unless you're able to try to respond in a way that can counteract it. So from a marketing perspective, it's a new category. So I had to come in and we created all this messaging, and narrative intelligence is the new category. Narrative attacks is the new threat vector. And we had to educate the whole market.
Yep.
We work with crisis comms. We work with marketing leaders. We work with chief information security officers, risk officers, in many cases, CEOs, because these type of narratives are targeting CEOs and executive teams. So we had to create messaging for all of them and educate all of them that, hey, this is truly happening. This is what's being said out there. Here are the narratives that are targeting your organization and your people. And then, giving them the visibility of what's happening and then enabling them to respond or be better protected from it. And whenever that's a new category, that's a lot of work. From a marketing perspective, you got to build a lot of great content to educate them and tell the story in lots of different ways. And what's amazing to me is a year ago, this was on people's radar, but it wasn't like a top priority. It is now a top priority for every global company and every national security organization because of how quickly things have advanced, how AI has made deepfake so easy, or misinformation, disinformation so easy to spread. So it's now become a top priority, and the inbounds that we get are from CISOs, from executives to chief communication officers. It's amazing the inbounds we get, where a year ago, people really didn't even know that this was something that they could do to fight back against it. So it's really matured quickly.
Yep.
And you have folks like Gartner and Forrester and Tag Cyber talking about it in a big way. And all of a sudden, it's a category and people are saying, who can I work with to help us with this? And we're fortunate to be in a position because we've been focused on this problem since 2017. And have built an AI platform that can automate a lot of this and, give you visibility into it. So that's the marketing story that I have to go tell. And, it's hard work. We do a lot to make that happen, but, it's really resonating with people in the marketplace.
I love it. I remember when I was talking to Wasim back in 2021, and I was like, this seems just like so important, but I've never heard anyone talk about it. It wasn't, I host multiple marketing podcasts. I've never heard a CMO mention it. I've never heard, crisis comms, obviously, of course you hear that sort of stuff, but that's not, targeted or just people goofing off, right? Like that's part of it too. Like I saw there was a politician that was giving some sort of, I don't know, hearing or something. And I was watching the video, and then towards the end of the video, I started to realize, I'm like, does not seem right. And towards the end of the video, I was like, of course, this is a spoof, and we're using AI to make this up. And you're like, yeah, but I just watched like a minute and a half of it. And the first minute, I didn't know that. And how many people watch the rest of till the end of the video? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this is like pretty, damning stuff that you're having this person say, and it looks 100% real. So anyways, it's like that cat is out of the bag. Like if Ian just stopped listening earlier, I would have went, well, that person is a, whatever, bigot or whatever, so I don't know. It's just, it's so complex.
It is. And with deepfake technology, the voice sounds right. The video looks right. More and more, we have seen where they have a CEO, it's a deepfake CEO, and they're talking about potentially missing their numbers for the quarter, right? And that video comes out the day before the real CEO is supposed to come out and share how they did the quarter, and they're trying to manipulate stuff. That's crazy. Right? So that's just one of so many different use cases that we see out there. And, more people see it, the more impact it has. And that's when it becomes a harmful narrative. A deepfake is a deepfake on its own is important. But when it becomes a harmful narrative and it's being shared to thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of people, that's when it becomes really, really harmful. And that's where it always ties back to knowing the narrative. If you know the narrative, then you're able to quickly respond to it. Or if you are ready to quickly respond to it, you can reduce that risk substantially.
Yeah, we've always sort of talked about like in the modern day and age of social media that speed is just like so important that sort of like if you haven't built your team around speed, it's like that's probably a pretty huge mistake. Now with social, where the algorithms really favor virality. It has changed in the last 5 years, right? It's like a post could go viral on Twitter 5 years ago or whatever, but today it's like it happens in a matter of hours that something can really take off. And yeah, it's just you have to be always on. It's just, what it is. It's the same exact thing all my friends in cybersecurity, obviously, right? Is like they are on call 24/7 because, the enemy gets a vote, and that's not how a lot of marketing teams or even comms teams or whatever are built.
That's right. That's why more and more, and this is where it's heading, is the cybersecurity teams own this. Others are supporting it, and we call it the fusion centers, where the CISO or the threat intel leaders are bringing together multiple groups from a company and saying, okay, this has now become an attack on the company. We have to prepare for it. So these fusion centers are leaders from the different groups, whether it's crisis comms, it's the CMO, it's risk, it's lawyers, you name it, where they're coming together to try to be ready for the next one that hits them, right? And a lot of it, a couple of years ago, people were trying to figure out how to do this, and they were doing it manually with threat analysts, right? And looking at individual posts or trying to understand, hey, this just blew up in our face. What's happening? Where's it coming from? And have no idea because there was no automated process to do it. So AI on the side of good can enable you, and that's what we're focused on, enable you to quickly assess all these things that are happening across the internet, including the dark web, including, all these different apps and social media and the regular media. And you're able to understand this is a narrative, and AI can pull that together in minutes versus days or weeks trying to figure it out manually and give you the real data, right? And that's what's important. And a lot of companies thought they were responding in a way that was going to reduce the risk and actually made it worse, right? And that's what can happen, right? So if you don't really know what's going on and who's behind it, what's being said, is it bot influenced, which more and more that's happening? Is it nation state influenced? You can make the wrong decision and make the problem even worse. So this is a 24/7, always on type of thing that you have to be ready for. And companies, especially in the financial world, are coming together and using our tool to say, hey, we're going to be better prepared for when this type of thing happens so that we can reduce that risk because we really know what's going on.
Switching gears to Buena Vista Social Club.
Here we go. All right.
Meredith, what the heck is the Buena Vista Social Club?
So the Buena Vista Social Club, that term could actually refer to a number of things, and they're all related.
That is Meredith O'Neill, our amazing producer extraordinaire.
So originally it was an actual music venue in Havana, Cuba, which is no longer. It's also now a band that grew out of that social club, out of that music venue. It's their album. It's also a movie, and now, of course, a musical, which is what we're talking about today. So the musical, the story behind that is based on real events, which is actually amazing. And it focuses on 4 prominent Cuban musicians who reunite in Havana to record their self-titled album. And the story has frequent flashbacks to them as younger men living through the Cuban Revolution and how the sort of social and the political landscape affected their personal lives. Overall, it spans 40 years, which is incredible to fit into a musical like that. So it spans the 1950s to the 1990s. And the album they recorded is notable because it really revitalized interest in traditional Cuban music, and it ended up selling millions of copies worldwide. The story for the musical was written by Marco Ramirez, who is actually Cuban American. He's born in Miami. And when deciding how to frame the story, he said that they had decided to focus on the character named Omara Portuondo, who's described as a prodigal daughter returning to this bygone sound. So it's sort of revisiting the nostalgic music. And Ramirez says, in doing so, this kicks up a bunch of emotions and feelings and stories from the past. And so as an artist, in order to move forward, she has to look back, and that become And that became the thread that we hung everything else on. So that gave him sort of the structure to build the rest of the musical on. But when looking into like who he wanted to work with for this project, he had ended up seeing a musical called Fat Ham. And the director was named Sahim Ali, who he just really ended up admiring. And so he's like, if I can get anyone to work on this, that's who I want to work with. But Ali is Kenyan. He was like a little bit hesitant to work on this, it being sort of out of his comfort zone. But he had recently been on a trip to Cuba, and he said otherwise he probably would not be open to working on the musical. So it was just sort of happenstance that he was comfortable moving forward. The music, though, is really amazing. It's all performed in Spanish by live musicians, all in like full view by the audience. And it's from the album, the Buena Vista Social Club album. But meanwhile, the writing is in English. So when asked about balancing content for Spanish-speaking versus English-speaking audience, Ali said the guiding principle was that if the songs are in Spanish and beautiful in their own right, then how can the storytelling support them in a way that's more emotional, in a way where the setting tells you what's happening? How can you provide a circumstance where the audience understands where the song is being performed and is not wondering where in time and space they are? So the two complement each other really beautifully. And overall, the musical is a celebration of Cuban music and culture, and it has been very, very well received. It tied for the most Tony Award nominations in 2025, along with Death Becomes Her and Maybe Happy Ending. And it ended up winning a special Tony Award for its live musicians. And so all of that said, Dan, I'm wondering, you've seen the musical, you went to opening night, would love to hear more about your experience there. But one thing I wanted to touch on and ask you about is how Marco Ramirez brought up the emotional impact of music, especially the nostalgia behind it. And so I'm wondering how seeing this live, and especially seeing like the live musicians playing this, how it affected you emotionally, and then how can marketers use music to their advantage?
Yeah. Wow. That was a great story. So thank you for sharing all that. Seeing them back live in 2001, the original members, and they were old then, right? But it was incredible. And that stayed with me. I bought the album, I watched the documentary, and I listened to that music on a regular basis. To see it live on Broadway, that's a big risk, right? How could they live up to that story? And they did it beautifully. The dancing, the musicians are incredible.
Young man, you might know my music, but make no mistake, you do not know me.
Like, you cannot help but like be excited and have goosebumps the entire time that you're listening to it. And they really did an amazing job with it and created a great experience. And, part of that story is, these musicians recorded this, in the late 90s, right? When they were still alive. They were older, much older, right? 30, 40 years older from when they were originally at the original Buena Vista Social Club. And they went and discovered them. They went and found these people. Otherwise, this music mostly would not exist today, right? Or at least be not as well known as it is now. So the end of that documentary and the end of the story is they get invited to play at Carnegie Hall, right? So this group started at Buena Vista Social Club all those years ago. And in their, in the late 1990s, early 2000, they get to go and perform at Carnegie Hall. Like, how amazing of a story is that, right? Because they were discovered. So to me, those are incredible experiences, right? Like I've been to the Sphere in Las Vegas and saw U2, like incredible experience. I have many times in my career in marketing held live music concerts because people love music. They love to come together. So, we did this 10 or so years ago at RSA, the big cybersecurity trade show. We invited a band in from the UK. They were called Nothing But Thieves. They were early days in their careers. They were playing like Lollapalooza and Austin City Limits festivals and things like that, but they were, early. And we invited them to come and play. It was a big risk, but we rented out in a place in San Francisco. It was like 800 seat. And we had like 1,600 people show up to try to get in and see the show, and they just blew everybody away. Like, incredible music. And we're still friends with that band today. And they've toured with the Rolling Stones. They've toured with, Muse and all these big bands all over the world. And they become really, really successful, really popular. And they played in New York City not too long ago, and we went to see them. And it was around one of my birthdays. So we're hanging out with them before, hanging out with them after. So people still come up to us today and say that band and that experience 10 plus years ago, they remember. And they said there's not been anything like that. And it's tied to music, right? It's tied to an experience. And as a marketer, especially in cybersecurity, where there's 5,000 cybersecurity companies, you have to do something different. You have to stand out. And that's what's memorable, those type of experiences. So to me, music and, having these performances is something I love to incorporate in my marketing to create relationships, trust, and friendships with people that last forever. And that to me is the magic.
I think magic is the right
love
word.
that you said that, because I've used on this show, part of the whole reason for the show is about making something that's remarkable and that people actually talk about with their friends. And I use the example all the time of when I was at Dreamforce back in the day, and I was sitting there, and I remember we had a decision of what we were going to do. Are we going to see Bruno Mars, or are we going to see, the other concert? It was in 2014. And it was either Bruno Mars or Cake. And we were sitting there, and it was like, turn left, Bruno Mars, massive pavilion. Turn right, smaller theater, go see Cake. And yeah, I remember the people I was with. I remember, we were talking about, it's like, not like it feels like yesterday, it's over 10 years ago. But that is always what I've always said about, Dreamforce specifically, that they got right from the very beginning, was sort of like, hey, we're going to make a rock concert sort of wrapped in a tech conference. And that is as true today as it is back then. And that's what's so crazy, right? Is like, it's creating something that is so memorable that you actually tell stories about it is so hard. But it takes conviction.
Yeah.
To your point, you have to make a bet. You have to make a big bet.
Yeah, huge, right?
And those fail. Like, they completely fail. But the thing is, you as a marketer, that people remember that conference or that event. You know that they remember going to that. There's probably 800 people that were mad they still didn't see it.
Yeah. And, I continue to do it today. Like, there's a venue, it's called Pier 17 in New York City. It's a rooftop. That's where we saw Nothing But Thieves back in October. So this summer, I'm going to go see Trombone Shorty. I don't know if you know him. He's out of the New Orleans era, but like unbelievable, band playing. Also going to see Michael Franti and Spearhead, right? And, so to me, like, music is really, really important, really powerful. My daughter is also a big fan of K-pop. And I don't know if you're familiar with K-pop, but I've gone to concerts with her. And these bands that I don't really, half of it's in English, half of it's in Korean, and they are selling out 60,000 seat arenas. And the crowds are amazing. The kids are so supportive of each other, and they are having such a good time, right? So I think it's especially important, like after COVID, where we were all like locked in, that these experiences of coming together and experiencing these things, whether you're young or old, doesn't matter, but you tie that in with marketing, and it's just an incredible combination of things, and it is remarkable. I 100% agree with you, and it's very memorable, and people appreciate it.
The other thing, and by the way, K-pop, I don't know, have you seen the trailer for K-pop Demon Hunters?
No, I have not.
Oh my gosh! So Netflix has made an animated movie that's, I don't know if it's out yet or if it's. I think just the trailer's out. I think I saw it yesterday. Yeah, it's called K-pop Demon Hunters, and it's like a K-pop band that is going to hunt demons. So, pretty straightforward. But I think that's interesting to me for the reason that Buena Vista Social Club is also interesting to me. Is I remember, Meredith, I don't know if you remember, I remember that album being on. I remember people with the posters in their house. I remember I had no idea what it was. 96, I was 10, but I remember, growing up and seeing that and hearing the music and hearing that. And when you said that you wanted to do Buena Vista Social Club, the musical, and I thought to myself, I have no idea what that is, but that's really interesting. And like, that's the power of building a brand that endures, that you have a band, it's connected to a real thing, it's connected to, this really complex geopolitical stuff, it's connected to music. As you mentioned, now it's an experience that you go to in person. You can watch it on demand by watching the film. You can listen to the music. You can listen to other types of music that is similar. Like, there's an immersive element to this story that is now, 80 years in the making, that this story is still continuing. And I think it's not just one thing. It's not just the music. It's, building this stuff to create a richer experience for people that want to engage with it, or to introduce new people in a format that maybe they, have never watched the documentary, or maybe they have never really listened to the band, and then they get to hear the music for the first time live. So I just think that that's the way that brilliant storytellers build things, and that it's layered. And sometimes it takes a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. And like I said, I went opening night, which I was really excited about. I had great seat. You could just see how much fun they were having on stage.
Yeah.
Right? Singing, dancing, playing. Like, they are living it. If you look at their Facebook and Instagram and other, social media that they put out, like, they are living it. Like, they are all 100% all into it. And I like every post. Like, I'm like a super fan, right? And they're like, who is this guy? Who's this guy? But, what cracked me up is that opening night, everybody was super excited in line, waiting to get in, right? And they had this video camera going around, and people were cheering and all kinds of stuff. And then they had the cameras in there filming during the show to create a sizzle reel for the show. And lo and behold, there I am, actually in it twice, in the sizzle reel that they put out around the Buena Vista Social Club. And it's just a short blip, but that's me, and I'm sharing it with my buddies and colleagues at work. And
that's so funny.
It's just like, it's perfect, right? So I'm a super fan of Buena Vista Social Club. Everything about it, the story, the Broadway show, the actors and the musicians and the story, and just you're transported into the Buena Vista Social Club like how it was back in the day. It's really cool.
I guess I just dreamed that one day, with the right record, we might remind the world that Mozart has got nothing on us.
So cool. That image, man, it's like burned in my memory. Like, as soon as you said it, I could think of the album cover.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So were you that big of a fan when it originally came out?
To be honest, I wasn't. Like, I got introduced to it through a friend, and he's like, hey, I have an extra ticket. Do you want to go? And I'm like, I never heard of this, but yeah, let's go. And it was at a cool venue back in Austin, an outdoor venue. And I went. And,
what was this?
This was back in 2001. Yeah, 2001. It's called The Backyard, and it's an outdoor amphitheater, dusty. It's, Spanish oaks, beautiful, moonlight, stars. It's like gorgeous. The venue's not there anymore, unfortunately. But I got invited by a friend, and I went, and I was like, okay, I'm a super fan back in 2001. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, so they've been active they were active for almost 20 years. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that was they were old, very old then, but man, they still crushed it. And the band that was playing with them really supported it. And then I think there's only one remaining member of that group still alive, but it's an amazing story. It's an amazing story.
But that's what's so cool about this musical is, like, the music obviously will live on, outlives them, right? But now this story is sort of reinvigorated and retold, which is so cool.
Yeah. And that is being recognized. Like you said, it's won all these awards, right? And taken Broadway by storm. And I was telling people about it. You got to go see this show. And they're like, Dan, you were right. Like, it's won all these amazing awards. And it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Any other sort of B2B marketing takeaways from this?
I mean, I think To me in marketing, B2B or B2C, it's about creating a relationship, trust, even friendship, a community with your audience, right? You have to have an amazing product. It has to really work and provide a lot of value, and you can never take that for granted, right? That if it doesn't work, that's a problem. But if it does provide a lot of value, then you can build, you are given the chance to build a relationship with a single customer or a billion customers. And if you treat them well, if you serve them well, if you're honest with them, and I think that's what's really important, and certainly in cybersecurity is like there's been a lot of overstatement of things by marketers, by salespeople that overstates things, and that's when marketing takes a ding, right? So if you are honest and if you demonstrate trust and you build relationships with people and say, we're going to go on this journey of creating something that's going to be really valuable to you and get better every day, then you have a chance of being very successful as a company, but more importantly, very successful to serve the mission. The mission is to protect the world, right? And the world is at lots going on in the world right now that's at risk. And in cybersecurity, there are so many really good people fighting the fight every day, 24/7. And that's what marketers have to understand. And that's what marketers have to take the right steps to tell the right story. And if you do that well, your company's going to be successful. Your employees, your stockholders, your venture capitalists are going to be happy. But most importantly, your customers are going to be happy. And that's the chance you're given. That's the chance I'm given every time I take on a role as a CMO. And I take that very, very seriously.
Amazing. Dan, how should CMOs think about content and where it fits in their brand or their overall marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think music can be content, right? I think, one thing that I did at Blackbird when I joined, I was the first marketing person. And, again, the great technology, just nobody knew about the company and we were moving into cybersecurity, and that's my experience. And my first hire was a content person. And his name's Dan, and he's amazing. He's a former news reporter and it's been all over the world. And, he wanted to get into cyber, and he has helped me create amazing content for Blackbird, giving example after example after example, whether it's in video form, whether it's in blog form, all these different pieces of content to go educate people on the problem. So content is critical. That was my first hire. You can have the best ABM strategy tools, whatever, but if you don't have really valuable content, you're not going to get anywhere, right? If you're trying to get in front of security leaders, they are bombarded, like I said, by 5,000 cybersecurity companies. And if you don't give them something of value every time you connect with them, you're never going to get a chance to engage with them, because 5,000 cybersecurity companies are trying to do the same thing. And you see it. I get asked every day, emails or whatever platform, Dan, can I have 15 minutes of your time? That's the first thing that they ask me.
Oh my gosh. Dude,
and I'm like, one, I don't know who you are. 15 minutes of my time, like I can't do that. Tell me a good reason why I should give you 15 minutes of my time. Give me something of value. So what we do in our marketing is the first thing our team says, or sales team or whoever says, is here is a new report that I think could be helpful to you and your team.
Yep.
Right? Here's a new use case. Here's a blog about this type of attack in the financial services market that might be helpful to your banking, threat intelligence team. And we started off that way. So they actually look forward to hearing from us, right? And when you do that, that's the start of building a relationship. So to me, content is everything, right? And then if you can throw some fun into it as well, whether that's music or different experiences to get people to know each other, dinners, it's really, really important. I was just at RSA. I put out a blog post about, friendship and trust and building strong relationships at RSA. And you won't believe how many people hug each other at that show.
That's awesome.
Because it's a small world. We're all in the fight together. We may be working for competitors or partners or whatever, but we're happy to see each other, learn from each other. And that's really amazing. That's what you see at that conference.
Yeah. When we made the Hacker Chronicles back in the day with Tenable, that was like one of the things was just like, we have to tell a story that can endure, that really sheds light on hackers in this industry, and like look at this like with like, you know, a Hollywood lens to say like, hey, what actually is real and is happening, and how do people do things? And we got so much feedback from the community that was just like, holy shit, they get it. This is actually real and how things work, and not, you know, and it's authentic, you know? So it's just a very cool community that really is supportive of taking bets and taking risks.
Yeah. Tenable's a great company and great people. So I wholly agree.
Yeah. Dan, wonderful having you on the show. For listeners, you can check out Blackbird.ai. Go give your crisis comms person nudge, your CISO a nudge. Any final thoughts? Anything to plug?
I'll just say, look, Meredith and Ian, I really appreciate the opportunity to share the story. You know, for me to be talking about Buena Vista Social Club here on this podcast, just, you know, one blows me away because the experience is amazing. But, you know, to tie it in with experiences and with marketing, and to create something that's really remarkable, as you said, memorable, that you want to share with your friends, right? That's what marketing's all about, right? And, you know, to me, that's what makes this fun. We work all really, really hard. So you got to have some fun along the way too, right? And that's what happens when you bring people together and celebrate these type of things.
I love it. Thanks so much, Dan. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Well, that's it for today. I hope you got some good ideas for your B2B content. Thank you for listening to Remarkable. I'm Ian Faison, CEO of Caspian Studios. Remarkable is created by the team at Caspian Studios, B2B podcast as a service. Caspian also creates fiction series for B2B companies, so if you want a business thriller, you can learn more at caspianstudios.com. Hollywood-style storytelling for B2B. And in today's episode, you heard from myself, Ian Faison, and Meredith O'Neill, senior producer here at Caspian Studios. Remarkable was produced this week by Meredith O'Neill, mixed by Scott Goodrich, and our theme song is Solomon by Falak. Be remarkable and rise above the noise.